Michael Flynn, has filed with the Department of Justice as a foreign agent for making more than $500,000 as a lobbyist, essentially, for Turkey. Your reaction to that, considering that, doesn't that mean, Mr. Vice President, that even if he didn't lie to you about what the Russian ambassador said or didn't say, that you would have had to fire him anyway?
Let me say, hearing that story today was the first I heard of it. And I fully support the decision that President Trump made to ask for General Flynn's resignation.
You're disappointed by the story?
The first I heard of it.
It appears the Trump administration has two strategies for dealing with the ongoing saga of Michael Flynn, the short-lived national security advisor who was paid to lobby on behalf of the Turkish government while he was advising the Trump campaign and sitting in on intelligence briefings. Strategy one has been to blame former President Barack Obama for authorizing Flynn's security clearance in the first place, even though we now know that Trump's White House did do its own background check on Flynn, however paltry. Strategy two has been to deny that they had any knowledge of Flynn's foreign agency work at all. That second strategy has been the modus operandi of Vice President Mike Pence, the same Mike Pence who led the transition team back when Flynn's Turkish cash flow was widely reported, when both Congress and reportedly Flynn's own lawyers flagged the issue to the transition team that Pence was leading, including a glowing op-ed that Flynn wrote on Election Day, taking Turkey's side against the international community. So Pence is either lying to the American people about what he knew about Mike Flynn and when he knew it, or he's telling the truth and was a complete dupe, neither of these options make Mike Pence look particularly good. And joining me now is Masha Gessen, author of The Man Without a Face, The Unlikely Rise of Vladimir Putin, Sarah Kendzior, journalist and scholar of authoritarian states, and Scott Dworkin, senior advisor of the Democratic Coalition Against Trump. Thank you all for being here. And Scott, I'm going to start with you. There is a paper trail about Mike Flynn and his dealings with foreign governments that goes all the way back to Election Day when he wrote this op-ed for The Hill. And the title of it was, "Our Ally Turkey is in Crisis and Needs Our Support," glowing about Turkey, attacking this guy Fethullah Gulen, who's an enemy of the current Turkey. Odd op-ed that later had to get a revision from The Hill. Go fast forward to November 18 of last year when the Oversight Committee, Elijah Cummings, the ranking member, sends a letter directed, "Dear Vice President-elect Pence, recent news reports have revealed that Lieutenant General Flynn was being paid to lobby the U.S. government on behalf of a foreign government's interests." That was November 18 of 2006. Fast forward again to March 10th, when we have an op-ed, and we have a piece in the AP saying the Trump transition team knew that Flynn might have to register as a foreign agent. Flynn's representatives had a second conversation with Trump's lawyers after the inauguration and made it clear that the National Security Advisor would be registering with the Justice Department. So it doesn't seem to pass the laugh test, Scott, that Mike Pence knew absolutely nothing. But could it be possible that with all of that happening, he just wasn't informed?
No. There's no way. He had to have known, because a few days before Cummings sent that letter, I filed with the NSA, and it got international news, and it was in regards to him being a foreign agent and working with Turkey. That exact scenario. And I know for a fact that they were called at least 30 times, the White House, to be questioned about that report that I submitted to the NSA. So I just don't think that it's viable for anyone that's that behind in regards to the president. I think that Pence is right now untouchable, because they think that he's not to blame for anything. But when it comes down to it, you know, I think that he's one of the guys who pushed for Flynn to be NSA in the first place. And I think he also absolutely knew. So I don't think that there's any way that he can really deny this, because he'd have to be a straight-up idiot to not realize that he's registered as a foreign agent, or the staff would have to be totally incompetent for him to be able to not be aware of the situation that arose.
And Sarah, you know, you do have this sense of sort of presenting Mike Pence as Mr. Clean, the guy who didn't know anything, the guy who they had to fire Flynn because he lied to Mike Pence, that Mike Pence was lied to and ill-treated by Flynn. But is that a viable sort of storyline going forward? I mean, he was on Meet the Press this morning. He didn't even get asked about Russia. He doesn't get asked about Russia. He winds up being sort of the clean guy in the administration. But does that idea that he is Mr. Clean, in your view, hold up?
No, it doesn't hold up at all. And you could go all the way back to the vice presidential debate in which he lied multiple times about things that Trump had said, things that Trump had did, things that were provable through video, as if we had no access to this information on our own. I think what's going on here is that Americans aren't used to a calm liar. We're used to lies that are screamed by Trump, that are, put forth in a, obviously propagandistic way. And I think with Pence, the Republican Party put him out as this kind of alternative, but he's just as complicit. He's just as involved. As was mentioned, he was part of the transition team that put this together. He was warned through a letter, and I think that he is just, only different in disposition and, not in terms of intention as to what this administration wants to accomplish, which is to, violate constitutional law.
And Masha, there is this sort of sense that in the Trump administration, they've set up these two sort of, camps. That you've got the sort of crazy, that Donald Trump is out there, riling up the base, giving these rallies, sort of performing this kind of authoritarianish sort of act. And then on the other hand, you've got this sort of sealed off, hermetically sealed vice president's office that can present to Capitol Hill, to the country, sort of the face of normalcy. Is that sort of a normal way that kind of a system like this, an authoritarian system that you write about so much, would operate?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to play alternatives actually equally bad off against each other because one temporarily looks a little bit worse than the other. And what is lost in the shuffle is that what unites them. What unites them in this particular case is just utter incompetence, right? I mean, if we take Pence at his word, which actually I would recommend doing at least as a thought exercise, then what we're looking at is a perfectly incompetent transition team. And the results bear that out. I mean, we're 100 days in. Government agencies are not staffed. They never did go through the transition process of having their people talk to the people in every agency to sort of receive the expertise and have the handover of power. None of that happened. In that sense, I actually believe what he's saying in the sense that it was all such a mess that he couldn't tell one piece of paper from another.
Yeah, and Scott, you talk to people on the Hill, Democrats on the Hill frequently. Mike Pence was supposed to be the one guy with some sort of governmental experience on the team, besides, of course, Jefferson Sessions. But he doesn't seem to, in their own storytelling, their own storyline, have any handle on anything. He's just an invisible man that just is happy to be there.
Plausible deniability. I think that the bottom line here is that Mr. Flynn should be stripped of his military title. He should also be in jail right now, obviously indicted. And then anybody who helped cover it up, anybody who helped push him through, they should be just as culpable as well. And I guarantee that there's going to be a paper trail, an electronic trail leading back to at least Mike Pence, if not Trump himself. It really is nonsense to think that Trump and Pence are not close with their NSA. I think that there's no way that Mike Pence didn't know. He is too hands-on of a guy. He was leading the transition team himself. And I think that Trump put him in a position where he was set up so that he can take the fall now. And I think that's what's going to happen, is it's going to come out and hopefully it's very clear that Pence has the long background with Manafort. I think